Okay, have you ever found yourself like staring at your computer screen? Maybe you've got 20 tabs open,
Yeah.
and they're all promising to teach you something amazing, but instead you just feel totally overwhelmed.
Oh, definitely. You sign up for that online course, right? Full of enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. Ready to conquer coding or Spanish or whatever it is. But then, well, life gets in the way. Or maybe it's just the sheer amount of stuff they throw at you.
You are absolutely not alone in that feeling. It's really common.
Well, welcome everyone to The Deep Dive. We're the show that tries to cut through all that noise and get you well-informed, fast. And today, we are plunging into the world of MOOCs.
Massive open online courses.
Right. MOOCs. Sounds a bit space age, doesn't it? But our mission today is to unpack this big question. Why do so many of us start these courses, but just don't finish them? What are the sort of hidden challenges, both for you as a learner and for the instructors too?
That's the plan. And for this deep dive, we've actually gone through a whole stack of academic papers published between 2014 and 2020. It was a pretty comprehensive review.
So we're boiling down years of research for everyone.
Pretty much. Think of it as your shortcut through the library. We want to give you the key insights, a clear picture of what's really going on with MOOC engagement, and maybe even make some of those academic terms feel a bit less intimidating, maybe even a little fun.
Fun in academic terms? Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's start with the basics then. Unpack that jargon, MOOCs. What exactly are we talking about here?
Right. So MOOCs, they're actually quite a recent thing in online education. They really started taking off around 2008.
2008, okay.
Yeah, and the very first one, interestingly, was called Connectivism and Connective Knowledge. It came out of the University of Manitoba.
Connectivism and connector knowledge. Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is, and those early ones were called CMOOCs. The C was for connectivism. They were all about building knowledge together, through network, social interaction, very collaborative.
Kind of cutting edge for the time, I imagine.
Totally. But then things shifted a bit, and we started seeing more XMOOCs. Yeah, the X here basically means they followed a more, let's say, conventional way of teaching, like a traditional lecture, but online. These are the ones most people think of now, designed to handle hundreds, even thousands of learners all at once, from all over the globe.
And the big dream behind them was huge, right? This idea that suddenly top-notch education could be available to basically anyone with an internet connection, often cheaper or even free.
Exactly. Increased accessibility, lower costs, this amazing potential for lifelong learning. It sounded revolutionary.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it still has that potential, I think. But there's a catch.
There is, yeah. The reality check comes when you look at who actually finishes these courses, the completion rates. Well, they're often surprisingly low. Some studies show them ranging from maybe 5% on the low end up to maybe 40% on the high end.
Wow, 5 to 40%. That's a really wide range. But even 40% isn't exactly stellar, is it? That means most people don't finish.
It's a huge drop-off, and there's been a lot of research trying to figure out why.
So what are the first thoughts? Is it just people getting busy? Or is it more complicated?
It's definitely complicated. Lots of factors seem to be involved. Things like the course content itself or how it's designed. Then there's the fact that the learners are so diverse, different backgrounds, different goals, all mixed together.
Right, so you might have a CEO and a high school student in the same course.
Exactly. Other things include maybe not getting enough feedback or feeling disconnected, no social contact. And then there are the personal factors. Lack of time is a big one. Plus, demographics seem to play a role too. Your age, gender, education level, even where you live can sometimes predict completion.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not just about putting the info out there. It's about keeping people hooked. Which brings us to engagement. That's a key word here, right? And it's more than just clicking next on a video.
Oh, much more. Engagement isn't just showing up online. It's about, well, the research calls it the behavioral intensity and emotional quality of a person's active involvement during a task.
Behavioral intensity and emotional quality. Okay, let's break that down. So behavioral is the stuff you can actually see people doing.
Precisely. Watching the videos, doing the quizzes, submitting work, posting in the forums. It's the active participation part. You're doing things.
Got it. And the psychological part, that's the internal stuff.
Yeah, that's more about how you feel. Are you excited? Do you feel energized by the course? Do you think it's important? Do you actually value what you're learning? It's your mental and emotional investment.
So you need both the action and the attitude, basically.
Yeah.
The doing and the feeling.
Absolutely. The research is pretty clear. You need both behavioral and psychological engagement to keep those dropout rates down. If either one is missing, it's much easier to just drift away.
That's really interesting. So if engagement is the secret sauce, who's making it? Where do the instructors fit into this picture? How can they help?
Instructors are definitely key players. They can be the superheroes here, potentially. The research highlights several things they can do. And the one mentioned most often in 10 different papers we looked at was focusing on helping learners develop their self-regulated learning skills. SRL skills.
SRL.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds important, especially given what you said about personal factors.
Yeah.
Why is SRL so critical?
Well, it's about empowering you, the learner, to manage your own learning effectively. Things like setting goals, planning your time, staying focused. If instructors can help build those skills, it seems to have a really positive effect on engagement. We'll definitely dig into SRL more in a bit.
Okay, SRL. Got it. What else is in the instructor's toolkit?
Next up, mentioned in 9 papers, is interaction, really fostering that connection.
Connection. Between who?
Between learners, so student-to-student interaction, and between learners and the instructor or teaching assistants. Think lively discussion forums, peer review assignments, maybe live Q&A sessions. Creating a sense of community.
Ah, so it's not just a lonely solo journey. You want people talking, connecting.
Exactly. And then 8 papers pointed to boosting intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic. So the motivation that comes from within.
Right. Understanding your personal reasons for being there, instructors can help by linking the material to your interests, maybe offering completion certificates as a tangible goal, and just being really clear about the purpose and value of the course. Why should you care?
Makes sense. Give people a reason and a reward. Anything else?
Timely feedback came up too in 4 papers. Getting quick, helpful responses from instructors or facilitators keeps you involved, lets you know you're on the right track, or helps you fix problems before they get too big.
Yeah, nothing worse than feeling like you're shouting into the void.
Right. And there were a few other things mentioned less often, like giving learners more autonomy, having really clear goals for discussion forums, making sure there's adequate support. And even, interestingly, one paper mentioned face-to-face study groups.
Face-to-face. For an online course?
Yeah, kind of an outlier, but it speaks to that need for human connection, even when the learning is primarily digital.
That's fascinating. Okay, so instructors have tools, but every superhero has their kryptonite, right? What are the things that make MOOCs fall short? The frustrations, maybe on the design or instructor side, the architect's anguish?
Anguish might be a strong word, but yeah, there are definitely challenges. And the research points to some recurring frustrations. The biggest one, mentioned in 8 papers, was actually poor course design specifically related to a lack of interaction.
Ah, the flip side of what you just said helps.
Exactly. When the course just doesn't build in ways for students to connect with each other or the instructor, it can feel really isolating, like being in a huge lecture hall where everyone just files out silently afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bleak. What else?
Well, closely related, 7 papers mention poor course design in terms of lacking motivating strategies. The content or the activities just fall flat. They don't hook you or keep you interested.
So it's just boring, basically.
It can be, yeah. Or just not well designed to keep momentum going. Then there's a very practical issue. The instructor's time. 4 papers specifically mention instructors not having enough time for preparation, and another 4 mentioned lack of time for providing assignments and meaningful feedback.
That sounds like a huge bottleneck, especially with potentially thousands of students.
It's immense. How do you give personalized feedback at that scale? It's a fundamental tension in the massive part of MOOCs.
Right. The scale creates the access, but also creates this challenge.
Precisely. And connected to that, 3 papers noted that some instructors just might lack the specific experience needed for teaching effectively in an MOOC environment. It's different from a traditional classroom.
Different skills required.
Definitely. Other things that came up were, like, unclear goals for forums again, sometimes feelings of disaffection among students, or maybe even aspects of the design feeling unintentionally exclusive. But what's really interesting is that overall there's less research focused specifically on the instructors compared to the learners. Things like instructor motivation, their own training, specific strategies they use. It feels like an area that needs more exploration.
That's a really good point. We focus a lot on the learner experience, but the instructor's reality is just as crucial and complex. Okay, let's pivot then. Let's talk about the learner's labyrinth, your side of the screen. What are the hurdles you face that make engagement tough?
All right, the learner's perspective. Well, the #1 challenge coming up again, mentioned in 10 papers.
Let me guess, SRL.
You got it. Lack of self-regulated learning skills. It was identified as the single biggest hindering factor for learners getting involved and staying involved in MOOCs.
Okay, so SRL is clearly the MVP, or maybe the anti-MVP, depending on how you look at it. What else trips learners up?
Economic barriers are significant, mentioned in 3 papers. This is especially true for learners in developing countries. Even if the course itself is free, you might need reliable internet, a decent device, maybe money for a certificate. Those costs can add up and be real barriers.
Right, free isn't always truly free when you factor everything else in.
Exactly. Another challenge, also highlighted in 3 papers, is not having the necessary background knowledge or skills for the course.
Like jumping into advanced calculus without knowing algebra.
Pretty much. You're set up for frustration. Then 2 papers pointed to something maybe less obvious, simply having a low intention to complete the course from the start.
Just not really planning to finish, like browsing.
Kinda, yeah. If you go in just thinking, I'll check this out, you're maybe less likely to stick with it when things get tough compared to someone who's really committed to finishing. And finally, also in 2 papers, was just a lack of interestingness for the learner. The material just didn't grab them personally.
Okay, so let's circle back and really dig into this self-regulated learning thing, SRL. It keeps coming up as number 1. What exactly does it mean to be good at SRL?
Think of it like being the CEO of your own learning. It's about actively managing the whole process. So setting clear goals for yourself, choosing the right strategies to learn, managing your time effectively, organizing your notes and materials, noticing when something isn't working, and changing your approach.
Okay.
Tracking your own progress, reflecting on how things went, and then using that to plan better for next time. It's this whole cycle. Plan, monitor, evaluate, adjust.
Right. It sounds like being really organized and proactive about your learning, like that super student we all knew who seemed to have it all figured out.
Kind of, yeah. And the benefits are clear. People with strong SRL skills tend to procrastinate less. They have better study habits. They're better at creating a good learning environment for themselves. They're in the driver's seat.
But it's not perfect, you said. What are the downsides or limitations?
Well, the big challenge is that it's not a magic bullet. Not everyone benefits equally from SRL support. And for instructors in a MOOC, it's incredibly difficult to figure out the individual SRL needs of thousands of students. You can't easily personalize that support at scale.
The scale problem again.
Exactly. And critically, learners often need to be taught how to use these SRL strategies effectively. It's not always intuitive. You can't just tell someone, be more self-regulated. You have to show them how.
So it's a skill that needs development, and supporting that in a massive course is really tricky.
Okay.
What about intention and interest? You mentioned low intention can be a barrier.
Yeah, that initial intention, I really want to finish this course, or I need the certificate for my job, that's a surprisingly strong predictor of whether someone actually completes it. If you start with a strong goal, you're more likely to push through.
But intention isn't everything.
No, because even the best intentions can get derailed. You might hit what the research calls performance barriers. Maybe the course content is confusing, the platform is buggy, the instructor is absent. Or you hit external obstacles, suddenly work gets crazy, family issues come up, your internet dies, life happens.
So you need the will and the way,
Yeah.
the intention, and an environment that supports it.
Precisely. And that ties into interest, too. Making the course genuinely interesting is vital for motivation.
How do you do that?
Well, engaging subject matter helps, obviously, but also how the instructor presents it, using good examples, illustrations, maybe compelling stories, having rich media like good videos and audio. But again, that interaction piece comes back. If learners feel they can't communicate with the instructor or TAs in the forums, their satisfaction and interest can drop off, even if the content itself is good.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? The design, the instructor, the learner's skills, their motivation.
It really is a complex web.
This has been super insightful, really getting into the nitty-gritty. But maybe we should take a step back. How do we actually know all this stuff? What kind of research are we talking about? What's the blueprint?
That's a great question. Understanding how we know this is important. First off, research on MOOCs really grew quite a bit, especially between 2017 and 2019. 2018 was kind of a peak year for publications in this area.
Okay, so it's a relatively new but active field of study.
Definitely. And geographically, a lot of the research has come out of the US, China, and the UK, which is interesting, but it also suggests we probably need more studies from other parts of the world to get a truly global picture. Different contexts might reveal different challenges or successes.
Makes sense. And the methods. How did researchers actually study this? Did they survey thousands of people.
Yeah, that was the dominant approach. About 65% of the studies used quantitative methods. Think large-scale surveys, analyzing clickstream data from the MOOC platforms. It's like taking a wide-angle photo of a huge crowd.
Good for getting the big picture, the general trends.
Exactly. Strengths are you get data from lots of people, you can often generalize findings, and it can be relatively low cost. But the weakness is you might miss the why. You see what people do, but not necessarily their feelings, their specific struggles, the deeper story. It can lack that in-depth information.
So mostly broad surveys. What else?
Well, about 22% used mixed methods. So they'd combine those large surveys with something like in-depth interviews or focus groups with a smaller number of people, trying to get the best of both worlds, the breadth and the depth.
Ah, clever. Get the stats and the stories.
Right. It helps triangulate findings, gives you richer, more authentic information, but it's more time-consuming and often needs researchers with expertise in both quantitative and qualitative methods.
And purely qualitative, just the deep stories.
That was the smallest group, about 14%. This is like having really deep conversations with just a few individuals to understand their experiences in rich detail. The strength is you get incredibly in-depth understanding, you really hear the participants' voices, but you can't generalize those findings to everyone, and sometimes it's seen as maybe not having enough hard facts or numbers.
Okay, so mostly big surveys, some mixed methods, and a smaller number of deep dives with individuals. Why does knowing this matter for us, the listeners?
Well, I think it shows that these insights we've been talking about aren't just guesswork. They come from systematic research, using established methods. It gives weight to the findings. And it also highlights where the research community itself sees gaps, like that call for more qualitative work, more studies that really amplify the learner's voice to understand the nuances of why people engage or disengage.
Right, it adds credibility and points to where things might go next. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've journeyed through the world of MOOCs.
We have, and I think the main takeaway is that MOOCs have this amazing potential for making education open and accessible, but they face real hurdles.
Hurdles related both to how the courses are designed and run by instructors, and to our own experiences and skills as learners.
Exactly. We saw how important things like self-regulated learning skills are, how crucial interaction and intrinsic motivation can be, and on the flip side, how poor design, not enough instructor time, or practical barriers like cost or not having the right background can really get in the way.
So making MOOCs work better, reducing those dropout rates, it really hinges on improving learner engagement across the board. It's more than just putting lectures online.
Absolutely. It's about creating an experience that's compelling, supportive, and helps learners cross the finish line. The research is ongoing, trying to figure out the best ways to do that.
Which leads us perfectly into our final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. If MOOCs are really meant to be about massive, open learning, how could your experiences, your expectations, maybe even your frustrations help shape the future?
Yeah, what would make a MOOC not just accessible, something you can take, but genuinely irresistible, something you really want to see through to the end?
What changes would make the difference for you? Something to think about. Keep learning, keep exploring, and please join us next time on The Deep Dive.